This is general advice and my opinions only. CFDs are high risk, past performance isn't reliable. I may be long or short CFDs and stocks mentioned. Content may contain language that offends some viewers. LEVRD operates as corporate authorised representative 001318377 under AFSL 548573. You can find our financial services guide via the LEVRD website link in the show notes.
Righto, bag holders and stop loss owners. The main man's back. Bradley, so the punters love Brad Seward from GBA. The bloody double the views. Why not get him on twice a week now, I reckon?
Matty, I love it. I'm a big fan of the punters as well. So no, you get a cracking audience, and I get a lot of positive and a lot of negative feedback from my close friends as well. I don't think any of them like hearing my voice any more than they have to. But I'm glad the punters love it.
I'm sure you're getting only positive feedback about Canetoad. I'm sure that's come across your desk of recent times. But have you had a play of it yet? Did you take your 1 month free?
Mate, I haven't had a play. I'd be really keen to jump on and see exactly what it is and how to work on it as well, mate, and how it sort of helps the workflow for everyone.
Well, mate, you get all that GBA office. There's a link in the show notes. 1 month free, which is zero, which is, mate, what you brokers love. And you can have a play with the best 3D drilling ASX-linked visualizer software in the market. That's what I'm doing for you, Seward, and everyone else.
I love that. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, make sure you do. Right, mate, we have, as you can see, I've got a bloody screen up so we can actually look at graphs and shit while we do this. But everything fell off a cliff this half. Gold's back at 46.20. You can see here on the on the bloody charts, it's just got hemorrhage this afternoon. Everything went to bloody shit. What is going on at the desk? What has happened? We'll start with gold.
No, I had the exact sort of comment this afternoon. I apologize, it's a little late for this call for the listeners. I was catching up with a client. He said exactly the same thing. I think it must just be GDXJ selling. It's all these guys. We look at all these gold stocks here that you've so kindly pulled up, Matt. They're all in the GDX. And shit, it was this afternoon at kind of, what was it, like 3 or 4, probably about 3 o'clock in the afternoon Sydney time.
Yeah.
Just got absolutely hammered. There you go, lunchtime.
Yeah. Just everything just went bloody absolutely downhill anyway. But lithium's up. So probably big news. Before we close off on gold, we'll come back to it. But I guess you had European lithium getting a bid from Tony Sage's other vehicle in the US. So
that's interesting. It's a bit of financial engineering going on there. It's a spin-off that's now getting pulled back into the original vehicle. It's interesting, isn't it, Matt? I mean that deal, and there's been a lot of really good kind of US listed or US listing companies have done fantastically well. I think over the last 6 to 12 months, assets coming from Australia, whether it's, assets coming from people that have put companies together in Australia. The European lithium's done really well. A really good example is, I guess, Lithium Americas Corp, which has done incredibly well versus the rest of the space at the moment. That's LAAC in the US as well. It's got a massive market cap. These big kind of, we're having this conversation today, actually, these really big, high, long life assets are finally getting the bid that they should. I've always had this really frustrating view, and I won't bore the readers on the technicalities of it, but I think these long life assets don't get valued properly, and they should be valued more as options and a series of options rather than, some NPV on some stupid gold price or some stupid, you go back 5 years, but Pantoro is a great example. It's a massive company now, or even Ora Banda is a good example. I mean, Ora Banda is a multi-billion-dollar company, and that was, you could have almost bought Eastern Goldfields for $1. Back in the day, and they effectively did. They recapitalized the whole thing, put a new management team in, and it's been this massive rally in the gold price. I don't know what the price of scandium in 20 years time is going to be, and it's the same with all these iron ore assets. You sit there and you go, you've got these long life iron ore assets, you've got 100 years left in them. Like, what's the price of iron ore going to be in 60 years time? When's the great kind of iron ore shortage will happen again, or the great we're talking about Jansen Potash for the fundy today, which is on the really big end there. You know, I don't know when the great kind of potash shortage of 2020, you know, 2056 or something is going to happen, and they'll pay back their capital in 3 months. I mean, Pilbara Minerals is a great example.
Yeah.
You know, that paid the entire capital back within 6 months. So, you know, I'm glad to see some of these bigger assets getting a bit of a bid here. And, you know, European Lithium is probably a really good example of that.
Yeah, I just see what they were trying to, that USA, was it the USA rare earths deal? The Brazilians were trying to block it, hey?
Yeah, mate, we're again chatting about Brazil today. Geez, it's not an amazing jurisdiction to be doing business in, is it? I mean, everyone kind of talks about it as this fantastic place, but there are, you know, it's a bit like, you know, and yes, Australia's great, but at least we've kind of got a lot of really good case law and you know, mining legislation around it as well. But geez, you've got you've got all the good things about kind of you know, a lot of the good things, and you got to remember you got a lot of the bad things in terms of places to do business in Brazil. I don't want to annoy, you know, any of my, and I own a few stocks in, you know, they've got assets in Brazil, so I don't think it's, you know, overly all doom and gloom. But you know, you just got to remember that when you're investing there, is it's not, you know, it's not all, you know, sunshines and rainbows at the moment.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see how many they've got on board. Like there'd be different scales of grey there, wouldn't it? Like looks like Centaurus are going all right. They've got a big in-house Brazilian team. But like,
Meteoric's gone well, Viridis is going well, but they've all had their kind of hiccups throughout the journey.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, what's that Steve Parsons and Mike Naylor thing that's just raised $15?
Oceana.
Is it Oceana?
OCN, yep.
You know, there's quite a few of those, and another good one that's a GBA house stock is St George as well. You know, that's again different. It's not on the back of, it's not exactly the same as all these other ionic clay deposits. It's a big carbonatite, which is a bit more like, you know, Mount Weld or Linus. And you know, it is an interesting deposit, but yeah, you've had mixed success on a lot of these. Sierra Verde is a good example.
Yeah. Interesting, mate. Let's go through, mate. What we'll go one for one. What's perked your interest? And no doubt that each of our interests are going to be something we've got some sort of position in. Because Jesus Christ, we're mad not to talk about what we own or what we want to maybe go up. Because why would you do this otherwise, mate? What's perked your ears over the last couple of days or so? I see your mates at Goldark had some pretty good hits.
Mate, that's it. I was going to bring Goldark up. So, you know, we sort of talked about this one for quite a while. Flick off. I think I sent you a nice little desk note there, Matty, earlier today. Maybe get that one up.
Yeah, no, I'll get the announcement up. Continue.
No, they had an absolute cracker. I mean, and that's kind of like, I'd always thought with this one, there's three kind of key investment pillars for that. You know, firstly, they're going to generate free cash pretty quickly out of, you know, both these South Leonora and North Leonora assets. You know, they've got different agreements with both MMS in the South and BML Ventures in the North, which are two, you know, separate businesses that effectively fund the development of, you know, these smaller scale projects, find a place to put the ore through, a mill to put the ore through, and then give you 50 after they've recouped their initial capital, give you 50-50 on the profit. So it's a really good opportunity for a lot of smaller companies to release some value in, you know, I mean, if you've got a 50,000 ounce or 100,000, 200,000 ounce deposit, and, you know, maybe you can pull out 50,000 ounces, even if it's going to cost $4,000 Aussie an ounce at the moment, you're still ripping, you know, what, 50,000 ounces at 3,000 is 150 million bucks of free cash flow generated out of that, and that's 75 to you. And generally, you know, 200,000 ounces isn't really, you know, talked about in your market cap at all. It's kind of, you know, almost seen as a free option for a lot of people. So, you know, Goldark's done the right thing in terms of trying to monetize that. but also we sort of talked a bit more about, the near mine opportunities there as well. So what they've done, and this announcement is about, Matt, is just in this southern area, it's sort of like a 5 kilometre trend there that they've got of some really interesting gold deposits. That's a good picture that you've got there. That sort of figure 1 goes through, a 5 kilometre trend that they have that is pretty damn high grade. So you look at some of these hits you're getting out at Sapphire, it's 8 meters at plus 65 grams, 66.8 grams a ton gold from 100. That's underneath, where they're planning on mining.
Yeah.
I think figure 2 gives you a good example of that. So they basically had initially planned on just going to the bottom of that, where that last hit is, and then they've also pulled another historic hole there that's pretty high grade at the bottom too. I mean, what's that? 7 meters, 142 grams. So it shows you the structure just keeps going and it's really high graded, and the widths are pretty good as well. And at today's gold price, you're only talking, what's that? 100 odd meters below the surface. Like, that is eminently mineable at plus kind of 50 grams a ton.
Oh yeah, for an open pit. Yeah, and it's like it looks like it improved. It did say it was some of this was infill drilling, but
yeah,
like filling in as looks like between the old hole and the new hole. The 2 old holes, but it's obviously improved a bit, like going from 6 meters at 5 up the top, or 11 at 3.6, and now getting 8 at 66 down the bottom. So,
well, I was chatting with the guys at MMS yesterday, and the guys at Gold Arc, and they were saying that effectively they discounted that historic hole to the right because they just thought it was a typo. It's what, 7 meters, 140 grams. Like, that's ridiculous. Yeah. So they just assumed it was a typo or wasn't true. So they're going to go back and now see if they can follow that up. But it looks like, that's kind of pillar 1 was near mine exploration. Pillar 2 is near mine exploration, and then I think you've got and this is the announcement today, was kind of on infill as well as a little near mine extension to get those kind of ounces up. So that at Sapphire, that 320,000, that sort of 22,000 ounces there. This hits below that pit.
Yeah.
Below that sort of pit shell on the resource there. Sorry. And on top of what they've got there, there'll be some new kind of new gold, as well as, I guess, the final pillar that I like about this company is just the wildcat exploration opportunities they've got as well. So they've got a guy called, have you heard of Ziggy Lubinecki, Matt?
Oh, I've heard of a Ziggy, and I probably haven't heard of too many Ziggies.
Well, they've got 2 Ziggies, actually, funnily enough, with Gold Arc. But Ziggy Lubinecki's on the board, and he was the guy that found Gruyere for Gold Road.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so he's a bit of a kind of hero in terms of finding stuff where people didn't think there was, there was kind of gold before. So, he did a really, like that. I'm not sure if you remember Gruyere getting found or not, or, it was basically an area that they'd completely written off in terms of being able to, find any gold there. And he decided, no, I think there's, I can't remember the specific technicalities around it. You'll have to get Ziggy on to talk about it. But, he'd said, no, I've got this different way of thinking about it, and this is where I think the structures are going to be and how it's going to work. And he found, probably one of the best gold discoveries in the last couple of decades in WA. Obviously that and Hemi are probably the 2 really big ones that you look at and go, that they're cracking deposits. So, it made an awesome sort of an awesome day of trading today. I think there's a few guys taking some profits. It sort of peaked really high initially. It was up sort of 20-25%, and then where did it end? It ended at 8.5.
You can see.
Yeah. 8.6.
Yeah, interesting. Oh, going good for you, boys. Right, on to mine. New Murchison's quarterly. That was bloody. I found that very interesting, and I'll bring up the chart because God, they're printing more cash than most bloody multi-billion-dollar producers. Like they. Looking at that, like they printed $63 million cash this quarter under the OPA, and if you look at actual free cash flow builds, like Capricorn was 50 mil, Bellevue was 16, Orabanda was 76. So they're for a 550 mil market cap company, printing 63 mil, I was like, wow. And they're sitting with 155 now, so nearly a bit under their third of their market caps in cash. But I'm interested to see, like, the flavour's gone out of gold a bit at the moment. Like, you look at what these...
It'll give you some good opportunities, though, don't you reckon, Matt?
Yeah,
that's a great thing, isn't it?
Is it going to go back up? Who knows? Like, you look at, here's an example. So New Murchison got up to 7. They're back down at 5. Like, all the likes of the ones I hold, like Medallion, Bright Star, are all, like, even Gorilla's like announced they're all trading well under their offers of what they raised at. And like,
they had a pretty good announcement today, didn't they, Gorilla?
Yeah, they got like two new discoveries effectively at Cometvale in new areas. So, and they've added 1 million ounces at that. But it seems like unless gold rips back into the 5,000s, I feel they're like struggling, because I look at New Murchison and, like, looking at these numbers, you can tell that the grade dropped significantly this quarter. So they went from 21,000 ounces to 15,000 ore mined. But Westgold had taken well overs on what they're they're only supposed to take 150,000 a quarter, I think, and then they're taking 170 odd to Bluebird. So they obviously need it. But God, even if they've printed 63 mil cash this quarter, and say even if they have a bad quarter on grade, they're still probably going to print 40 odd. But I don't know if the market's looking at it in terms of it's a short term thing. I know they got the Crown Prince East prospect as well. That's a bit smaller. They got Lydia. They got potential undergrounds. It seems like they're putting a lot of time into making it not just a one pit wonder, and they're going to be left with all this cash. There's growth options, but that's the risk to it. But they could easily creep up into having 200 odd million cash and be able to fund anything. Like, it doesn't look like they'll have to raise equity ever again. So I don't know.
Yeah.
What do you think?
What would you like them to do with their cash, Matt? Well, I mean, that's the question is, you sit here is, I really like Alex. I think he's done a great job here. He kind of came at this with an idea, and he's been lucky with timing. You can always say that, but Alex has given so many things a crack over a long career, and I'm so glad this has worked out for him. He's a really nice guy and tries really hard.
Done very well.
What do you want to?
I'd be doing chucking a bit towards a buyback if you've got 150 mil. You can buy back 15% of your stock in a year without a shareholder vote. Correct me wrong if I'm wrong.
Yeah, thereabouts. Yeah.
So there's and that's only what 75 million bucks worth out the door. That's
true.
one option, but they are allocating a good, like you see on the waterfall. They put 5 million, nearly 5 million towards exploration and growth. So
they got much left in terms of resources and reserves.
I think it's all they're about. I think stage 1 of the pit finishes this quarter, and then they commence stage 2. They're obviously drilling below Crown Prince to look at the underground potential. So I like if they keep printing the amount of cash they're doing, because they're never going to have to build a mill, because they'll just keep sending it to Bluebird. So the only capital that ever has to be deployed is mining related. And if they could probably nearly buy back some of their stock while gold's in the toilet a bit, and that'll mean it just turbocharges if there's a gold rebound. But it looks like even with that, they'd still be able to organically fund everything. But I think just keeping what they're doing, punching the exploration, and giving some longer term outlook on, right, here's the mines, here's the plan, here's a bit of an ounce profile for the future. So, it can be baked into the models that this company might be still mining gold very easily in the next 5 years.
Yeah.
But you can't do that overnight. It takes a long time to do that, but not the worst problem to have when they're going to nearly have 200 mil in the bank next quarter if things go to plan. So
Well, that's the other thing you got to remember as well, and this kind of goes back to conversations having with a fundie today, to organising some meetings for a gold company, and he goes, mate, there are, like, why is this one special? You know, there's 40 of these things out there with kind of, you know, 50 to $200 million market caps. Why is this one special? You know, and I think this kind of harps on to what I've always said is that, you know, us finance professionals are bloody lazy. Like, we are the laziest human beings in the entire world. And maybe we try to take on a little, I'll be more generous. We try to take on too many projects and don't have the time to do it all well. So, you know, if you're Alex, or, you know, this is always my kind of, philosophy when I was investor relations at PMed, is try and make life as easy as humanly possible for both investors as well as the analyst community and stockbrokers. Because you sit there and you go, right, well, you know, if I can plug in, I've got a model that I use all the time, you know, and I think, you know, the person who probably does this as well as anyone is Rich Hyde at WAF. You know, I think what his philosophy has always been, I'll always give you, this is what we're thinking internally, and how, you know, I'll put it in a form that you can just throw it into a model. Here's the 10-year plan, and he always does a 10-year plan. And, you know, he ends up being one of the best covered stocks in the ASX for a while, for, you know, I guess within African space, because he just made it so easy for you as an analyst to plug it into a model and come up with a valuation. You know, and you can say, oh, well, I don't agree on this, or I don't agree on that. But if you have to be, you know, sticking your neck out all the time, it becomes difficult. So I think, you know, a lot of these guys, and I put Goldark in that kind of, you know, Goldark and Lefroy, in that space as well, in the sense that, you know, it'd be really nice for a lot of these guys. No, you can't, and I'm not having to whinge at the companies. I'm just saying, I think, you know, you can, if you can get some sort of, whether it's guidance for the next 12 months in terms of ounces produced, or it's, you know, an EBITDA guidance on a certain, you know, I guess gold price assumption, you know, get something out to the market. We know how much money you're going to be able to make, because a lot of these guys are making just a killing. Like, you're right, NMG is a good example. They're showing exactly how easy, you know, this whole, hey, we've got a nice gold deposit in, you know, we've got a nice gold deposit in WA that's easy for us to get out, and we can throw it through a mill that we don't own. We're paying money for it, but you know, shit, you can really, really kill it. You can make so much money, and that's a lot of cash to build. $63 million. You know, you look at a couple of those other guys. I mean, Bellevue just has that consistent kind of capital spend they've got to roll into, and Capricorn always used to be the, you know, I know they're investing heavily in another asset, but they always used to be the cash flow generator of the kind of, you know, small cap gold companies. And, you know, $50 million cash build in the greatest bull market ever is a bit, you know, it's a bit lackluster, isn't it?
Oh, but they've just been consistent, I guess. Like, I think it was 100, and then 50 went to Mount Gibson and the Carla Winder expansion. But it's still technical. Just
no, I know. I agree. Yeah.
And Bellevue, I think we're 160 or something. Then that's after all the hedge book delivery, I think. But it just sort of highlights the example of New Murchison, that he, like, Pasty pretty much did something that everyone probably said, oh, that's a weird move. That's taken the competition out of play by pretty much letting Westgold take the strategic placement and then locking themselves into Westgold. Everyone's like, oh, that's taken away the competitive tension to take the stock over. But he has made more cash and outperformed pretty much all the rest of them that would have said that, and didn't build a mill, just got cash quick, and now is building it. And the rest of them haven't re-rated at all when New Murchison has re-rated. So he's done a sensational job.
He has, and Valiant Gold's a good example of exactly that happening as well. You know, those guys, I mean, you know, that's been a pretty awesome kind of IPO. It's VAL is the code. That's a spin out of Westgold too. You know, they've got a very you know, they've got a deal with the Westgold guys as well, similar to what you know, New Murchison have done. But I think Westgold's kind of, you know, they've played this market really well. It'd be interesting to see how it all kind of goes. I know they've been talking about the sale of Peak Hill for quite a while. You know, and let's see if they can get a, whether it's a Valiant style re-rate or even like an Alicanto style re-rate. And obviously a lot of that's to do with a little Parsons magic in Alicanto, as well as, I'll give Jeff a little Jeff magic there too. I got a lot of time for him.
Such a GC. Love Jeff Sansom.
Lovely guy, isn't he? He's a great bloke. But no, they've had a nice big re-rate as well on the back of this kind of gold AQI as a code, on the back of this gold sort of rally. And they've done a really good job of kind of executing on showing the market a bit of value. I think there's maybe a few guys that are a bit frustrated with the transaction that got done with the royalty company. It's part of that Richardson Street crew, but I think the market will kind of see through that in due time. But it looks awesome.
Yeah,
I'm a big fan of that business.
That royalty they did it's interesting. It's it depends on how you view it. Like, so they brought capital in and gave away a royalty for when production occurs at Mount Henry, but it depends who you're looking after, isn't it? Because I don't that mob usually don't have an intention to mine. They had to mine Bellevue, but their goal is to build a resource and sell it. So they've bring capital in an undilutive manner as shares on issue. So if they sell it, the royalty's not their problem. Depends if they sell it, but.
Well, I think you end up, I look, the guys, my understanding is that is the royalty company is part of, I haven't done all the due diligence, so apologies if I got this incorrect, punters out there. But my understanding is that the royalty company is part of the sort of Richardson Street crew. So I think my understanding is that
they had a position in it as part of it. So
and my understanding was that
there you go.
Yeah, my understanding was that Stria is a company that's involved with kind of the founders of Alicanto, and it's also that I think this deal had been done quite a while ago too. So it sounded like when was this done? A few weeks ago, wasn't it? From memory,
when was it? 9th of April.
9th.
Yeah.
I think this has been in tow for a good kind of a good few months as the deal was closing with Westgold, but it does look like a really good sweetheart deal for the Stria guys. They're all the I think it's called, it was the old Terra thing that Terra, it was the company that did Terra bought. What was that called? They bought the royalty company off AIM, and it's the same guys that are part of that as well.
Is that the one that had Thacker Pass in it?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, because they get so it's 4 million Stria shares valued at 3.1 in exchange for they put 5 million from Stria and a 1% NSR, and then that goes up to 2% NSR once they hit 2 million ounces at 0.8. Yeah, and they put a further 10 million in.
Because ostensibly it's sort of it is a sweetheart deal, and like I said, I think in the grand scheme of things, it won't really matter. But my understanding is that it was penned a long time ago as well. So, they've got Stria Lithium. I think it's the same guys that were involved in the board management. Same guys are involved in the old lithium business in. The old lithium royalty business.
Interesting. Right, next cab off the rank for you. One more each, mate. I'm going to North Queensland for mine. What else has perked you?
Oh, is that they've got a capital raise on today? Is that the old Sunshine?
No, it wasn't that. It was yesterday. Loyal Metals, which is good for something else I'm in effectively because action's in North Queensland. But I'll let you go for a final if you want.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I think we've sort of talked about this one a little bit ad nauseum, but the one that I'm a big fan of still is MRR. That's Minrex.
Your Serbian play.
Yeah, indeed. So I caught up with Max Friday, just for a quick little chat in the afternoon, and we sort of went through a few of the things that he saw when he was in Serbia. So he did kind of like a pretty extensive due diligence process prior to taking this job. He's a bit of a I got a lot of time for Max. He's fantastic in sort of what he does, but we talked through, I guess, a few kind of different pillars for that. And that's what I like when you're looking at kind of these small cap companies is one, management team needs to be really impressive. Like, it's got to be someone that's leveraged that's going to make a lot of money out of this thing if it goes well. I think one of my kind of, I see him as a bit of a mentor in the space, always goes, who's getting rich out of this deal? Like, is someone getting rich out of it, and who's driving it forward? So I think Max is going to get really rich if this thing is a big success. So they've kind of got two big pillars out of Serbia, as well, and truly a Serbian focused company. I think, we should see a bit of a rebrand around it, and a real focus on their Serbian assets, and potentially you might see a bit of a spin out of some of their, I wouldn't call them non-core because they're still quite good assets like Sofala. There's over kind of 300,000 ounces of gold in New South Wales, which is pretty good in the sort of Lachlan Fold area. But they've got a couple of kind of really interesting projects in Serbia. So one of them is a really big sort of porphyry kind of target. So for those that are a little that aren't as sort of up to date with what's going on in Serbia, there's some really big players there. So the guys at Dundee and Zichin are producing a hell of a lot of copper and gold and precious metals out of Serbia at the moment. Everyone kind of thinks of Serbia as a bit of a basket case in terms of getting mines up and running, but there are a lot of mining companies operating in the Balkans and Serbia in particular. So just around the corner, there's the Bor complex. So they kind of have like a budding. So if you go further down, they have an abutting tenement to the Bor complex. It's a little further. This is the kind of stuff that I like that could turn it into a multi-billion-dollar company.
Oh yeah. That Bor, BARGE, JE.
Oh no, it's a little further down, but it's kind of a big. So this is more about their main sort of potentially producing asset. We'll go back to, but this is what I'm talking about here. This is stuff that I kind of like, is that you end up with some really big deposits, coming up to extending effectively into this area. And my understanding is that Zagina are investing a hell of a lot of money and drilling pretty damn close up to these borders as well. So you could see, some pretty outstanding hits. They've got to spend a bit of money. Max isn't wasting any time. He's out there, making sure there's going to be a lot of really good news flow coming. I got a rev up from him today to organise him a few meetings next week when he's in Sydney, to catch up with as many instos as possible. So you always like seeing that from a managing director when they're following you up to do work. So I had a lot of time for the board management team, but this could potentially be kind of like a multi-million ounce discovery here, and it looks like it's in the right part of the world. But if you go further up to the Tolmino, and I'm absolutely butchering this pronunciation, Tolmino, yeah, there you go. They put a PEA out. So the previous owners, Electrum, put a PEA, which is a Canadian version of a scoping study, out recently, and I flicked a little note around to clients on that a while ago. So if anyone wants to grab that, just hit me up on LinkedIn and I'll send it across. But essentially, at a US dollar gold price sort of 1,500 and silver of sort of sub 20 an ounce. They had a really compelling project at really low payabilities as well. So, if you're able to see price of gold goes up, but B, the other thing is, arsenic in cons is less of an issue around this part of the world when you've got, million ounce producers and a massive amount of copper being generated just down the road in smelters. They just kind of want to sprinkle a little bit of high grade sort of precious metals concentrate in there, and you can really blend it out, and there's no real problems there for potential arsenic issues as well. So I reckon that they can get a win from both increasing the size and the scale, so that they're working pretty aggressively on an infill and extension program at their, at the main project there, and also, potentially improving the economics on both the gold price going up as well as payability is getting a bit better. So, I think it sounds like they've got a couple of really good high quality, highs coming in the next little bit. So, mate, this one, it could easily be a $500 million company on the stuff they've owned that they've got at the moment, and then some, and then you could easily see it sort of pop on the back of some interesting exploration in that part of the world too. That's just really underexplored. It's a part of the world that just hasn't had a huge amount of exploration, like the back end of Kalgoorlie has, for example. So, mate, this is one that could, on what they've got at the moment. There's a $200 million company maker, pretty easy, and then there's a blue sky to sort of well and truly above $500 million if they can find a bit more around Talmino, and also hit some regional targets there, that Boar complex that Zijin have.
Mate, you sound like a bloody good broker there. How much cash have they got and everything? What's the
Mate, a lot of cash. You're not running into a cap raise. So, Minrex, bit of the history. Minrex was essentially kind of a cash box for a while, run by a fantastic broker out of Euros Harleys by the name of David Michael. And he sort of put a few people involved there. So Ian Shackleton's kind of the main technical guy. James Pearce is sort of the compliance guy on the board, and then you had Glenn Whitten, who was sort of the deals guy. So Glenn, you might remember from a lot of really fantastic kind of turnarounds. He was in Caprice, and he's on the board of a lot of other stuff. So I'm always happy to back him in when he's still got a lot of shares and stuff. But he's done a cracking job here of finding a project that's unloved on the TSX and breathing a bit of life into it, and then bringing a good quality management team alongside as well. So I think they'll end up with a really good kind of second level of management down below Max, and be able to build a proper company here. So there's a couple of company makers there.
Interesting, mate. Right, I'll have to. I've got to. My hardest thing at the moment, Seward, is like once you make decisions and you're allocated. Like I haven't got this. I've always said I just want this regenerating bank account where I'll put some trades on, but I've still got the money there to put trades on other things. And once you make decisions and I end up fucking around with all my positions and selling to put it in something else, I've just got to let things play out, and my choice is my choice sometimes. But that's the difficult thing in my life.
That's it, mate. You're a fund manager now. It'll be interesting. You got to make all those. You got to make all those decisions. It's tough. I was saying this before about a company. I won't name it because I was talking sort of a little negatively on it. But I'd sold most of my position in it, and then we're kind of sitting here. I was sitting here with this client saying like, we both own a bit of it. We're sort of like got a half or a third of it, proper position size in it. And we said, I really like the asset, but we just don't think the management team's all that motivated. The guy sat down with him for half an hour and he talked about his other businesses for 25 minutes of the half an hour. You sit there and you go, mate, I'm a shareholder of this thing. I want you to be, telling me how you're going to get this into production and generate free cash for us and pay some dividends in, 4 or 5 years' time. It's a cracking project and it's really undervalued. But anyway, mate, I'll let you chat about Adam Ritchie. Yeah. That looks like a cracker. It's a good little deal that they managed to get there, wasn't it?
Yeah. So LLM, Loyal Metals. This come up. They've been bid for all cash by BUMA, the Indos, the Indonesians. So this come up yesterday. So I found this very interesting because I'm obviously a holder of Breakthrough Minerals, BTM, and they're North Queensland. They're closer to Cloncurry. This is sort of your Charters Towers area. So they're bidding Aussie 79 million, all cash, and for no resource. I don't think it's like a historical project. Where's the figures of it? It is.
But it's interesting, Matt. You were talking about the Indonesians, and I know Bumi's kind of, a lot of these guys are really cashed up and wanting to invest some capital in Australia and in copper gold projects. I mean, United Tractors is a great example of someone that's looking to, they've sort of outwardly stated they want to do billions of dollars of investment into Australian mining projects.
Yeah.
They just, I mean, I had a chat with the Australian-based guy, and he's just saying we can't find something big enough to get our teeth sunk into in an adequate amount of time. So I'm surprised that.
Yeah, here's the project here. Like it's historic. It's historic. This highway reward mine historically produced 3.65 million tonne at 5% copper and 260,000 tonne at 4.5 grams of gold between 87 and 2005. So it's that like sort of Thalanga near west of Mount Carlton, but that's the ground north of Pajingo. So I don't think it's even got. I couldn't find it, but it didn't have it hasn't got a current resource wrapped around it. But the interesting thing was because I said like the word was going around that these Indonesians are looking at North Queensland to start consolidating the copper, because you've obviously got Breakthrough is a small one, but you got True North, you got Carnaby, and plenty going on. You've got AIC mines could get to work up there. There's plenty happening there because there's not a shitload of copper to go around. But the interesting thing is that the chairman of Loyal, Peretz Shapiro, is also on the board of Breakthrough. So I thought, this is getting very interesting. So hence why maybe there's, with the whole copper thing happening, because you've got Kamoa-Kakula still recovering from all the seismic stuff and downgrading. So Ivanhoe's been hit. Freeport downgraded last week. You've got sulfuric acid being not exported from China. You've got the usual declining grades and stuff out of Chile, and people saying, is copper the next punt due to maybe there's not enough in the world. And even if you add up all those, even if global growth slows a bit and copper demand isn't there as much, when you got reduced output, maybe that'll net each other off. So, this copper in North Queensland just seems to be potentially where there's a lot of 100,000 tonne things happening, and this deal by BUMA with Loyal whether that's the start of something more happening in that region, we'll be interested to know. So we'll see if old Nigel Broomham comes through with the goods for me on Breakthrough Minerals. But I've had a look at plenty of the other ones, like True North's got Paul Cronin involved now from Adriatic, so that's got a name to it. Carnaby's probably been around a while. I think that's about 160. They've just started drilling again, I think, at Greater Duchess.
Yep.
There's plenty. Where's bloody Carnaby? Market index is way better for this process. So I've got the graph, I've got the announcements as well. So, Carnaby started having a bit of a lift. They're pulled back a bit in this bloody current week's shitstorm. But you can see here, 3,000 metre drilling program commences at Greater Duchess. And they've got, and like True North, for instance, I think they've got 400,000 tonne of copper already, and considering that AIC produces 12,000 tonne a year, there's a lot of copper sitting around there to be developed in that region.
Yeah, well, you obviously got Aries as well. I think Krakau's probably a little further south than the rest of the stuff.
That's mostly gold, eh? I think that's
it is mostly gold. It's got a little bit of copper from memory. Maybe I'm thinking of their old Mount Carlton stuff, but that Mount. Yeah, mate, there's a lot going on in that part of the world. It'll be interesting to see what Glencore end up doing too. They sort of had talked about wanting to, well and truly get out of it, but it'll be there's some plan. And that was always if you remember back in the day, I think you would have talked to Mick at Metals Acquisition Corp. That was kind of his. What he really wanted to do was well and truly kind of consolidate that sort of Mount Isa region. So, there could be some new players coming in.
Because you got Harmony Gold up there as well. Like I've got it up here, so just south of Dougal River, that's Harmony Gold, who've have taken over Metals Acquisition Corp and now have control of CSA. And it doesn't. And it, from what they said, like CSA even needs a bit of a 2-year rebirth to get that back up and going. So
CSA is a deep mine though as well, isn't it?
Oh yeah, but very high grade. But yeah,
you got Ernest Henry there, Eloise, Cannington.
Yeah, exactly. So, plenty happening. So, North Queensland, I just got to hang on and hope, mate, because with this market at the moment, it's all about survival on the choppy trade at the moment.
Mate, I must admit, you're going to have Adam Ritchie's a bit of a deal maker, and I think I might buy a little small position in his other company, which is DSM, Desert Minerals, and I'm pretty sure Mr. Shapiro's on that one as well. Let me have a look.
That was an IPO, eh?
Yeah, it was. It was a spin-off, I think, from.
Oh, where was it? It was from Loyal, wasn't it?
I think. Yeah, it was. So Peretz is the chair.
Oh, yeah,
and Adam's there as well. Yeah, exactly. And then you got Dan Campbell. Dan's a cracking geologist. He was actually I'm not sure I can talk about this, but he was on one of the really big, really big legal battles recently that just closed. So he spent a lot of time on that and did very well out of it. But Dan's a cracking geologist. I know they're looking to find some new assets.
Yeah. Oh, so they've got what? The Scotty Lithium project in Nevada.
Yeah. But a few little bits and pieces, but I think, my gut feel is they're trying to find something, a little more sort of material. So this was kind of a few of the smaller assets that came out of Loyal. So yeah, he's. I think they're trying to find something with a little bit more teeth in it. A little bit more sort of, crunch in it. And Darouge is still pretty big from memory. Jody's fairly large in this one as well. But Jody's jumped on the board of Jersey too. He's having a lot of wins, Jody.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, where is he? I think that's him from memory.
I see Snow Lake, because that's obviously what. Yeah. Oh, it's all mate. Let's talk about being intertwined. Holy snap and duck shit. Yeah. Gotcha. Interesting. Right. Plenty for me to look at. Cobber?
That's it, mate. That's it.
Thank you very much.
Pleasure as always, Matty.
Yeah, no, I'll grab you back. Let's come back on Thursday, and hopefully we'll have something new and positive to talk about. So we just need a big bloody green day, mate. We want a green day. Oh.
A few of them in a row. I think yesterday was good. We just need a few of them in a row, mate. Just get a nice win on the board.
Yeah, why not, mate? Righto, Cobber. Love your work, mate. I will talk to you soon.
Cheers, Matt. See you, mate.
Cheers, bros. Then righto, punters, as always, thanks to you to the main dosh sponsor, Canetoad. Get your link in the show notes for a free month. It's about to expire soon. You'd be mad not to try it. Have a good one. Cheers.